I have spent thousands on Joe Dispenza retreats, and my most recent one was the 10-day in Cancun in December. And I've had life-changing experiences at every single one. But those peak states mean absolutely nothing if I wasn't able to maintain them when I got home after the retreat. So picture this, right? You're in the ballroom with 15 to 2,000 people, and the energy is electric. You're having mystical experiences, you're downloading insights, and you feel like you've cracked the code of reality itself. Then you get on the plane home, and by the time you're back in your regular environment, your home, it's gone after 3 months. And this happened to me twice in my first two retreats. And I used to think I was failing. I would beat myself up thinking, why can't I maintain this retreat energy in my home, in my back here in Australia? What's wrong with me? But then after going through this cycle multiple times, I realized that something I had to completely change my approach, because the retreat shows you, well, helps you experience the peak, right? It helps you experience real highs. But I had to learn how to bring that peak into my regular life. So your body, your environment, even your relationships are all programmed to pull you back into your familiar frequency, especially your environment. That is the most enticing, which I will dive into in this video. And with the right integration systems, those peak experiences, they're actually quite hard to embody. So I want to reveal exactly what was the missing piece of transformation was for me, why our environment is stronger than our willpower sometimes, and how to build a personal integration system that makes your transformation inevitable, not just inspirational, okay? Or not just theory, but actually embodied. Because the retreat isn't where the transformation happens. Well, yes, it does, the big one, but it's where you remember who you are. However, the real work begins when we get home. But I want to bring you back to my first retreat. Day one, I was skeptical, but I was already doing Joe's work for about, 3 months, but on and off, you know what I mean? I wasn't fully in. So I'm thinking, all right, Joe, show me what you got. And then by day three, I'm literally crying during walking meditations because they're beautiful and I'm having some profound realizations about my life. Day five, I am convinced that I've unlocked the secrets to the universe and I'm walking around like Neo from the Matrix. You know what I mean? And then in those moments, in these mystical moments, these transformational moments, those elevated moments during the retreat, I realized that my brain was literally rewiring during those tense experiences. And so I was creating new neural pathways, new synaptic connections as well. So I get home from the retreat. I'm still flying. You know what I mean? Woo! I love life. My friends are looking at me and they're like, "Who are you, bro? What happened? Where'd you go?" That's what they were asking me. And here I am, like meditating for 4 hours a day. I'm journaling, doing the breath. I'm all in, right? Because I wanted to maintain that peak retreat experience. And then 3 weeks in, I noticed the first crack. Okay, I skipped one meditation, and because I went back to sleep, I wanted to sleep in. Next thing you know, I'm back to my old patterns. 1 month later, I'm skipping meditations, and I'm only listening to the material. You know what I mean? I'm not a person that's in the game. I'm just a spectator. And then 3 months later, I'm back to my old self, struggling, like the retreat never happened, and that energy was gone. And I realized I fell hard because my environment was literally stronger than my willpower at that point. And so my body had become addicted to my old emotional states. And it's just neuroscience. And think about it like this. It's like being a fish, right? Imagine you are a fish that's been living in a small, dirty fish bowl your whole life. Okay? Suddenly, your owner puts you into the ocean, takes your fishbowl, dumps you into the ocean. For a few days, you're swimming around like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Wow, what is that big fish over there, right? I'm free." But then your fish brain starts going, hold on. Where are those invisible walls that I'm familiar with? Where's my little castle that I like to hang around nearby? Oh my God, this is too much space. There's too much possibility here. I want to go back to what I know, my fish tank. Okay? And that's exactly what happened to me. Because my nervous system was literally fighting to maintain homeostasis, the familiar. Even if my familiar environment sucked, and it sucked, let me tell you that, it sucked. I think during that time I was still living with my parents. That doesn't mean that they suck, but it wasn't in my favor. And so that environment is like that. It's like a toxic friend who's like, come on, just one more drink, just one more Netflix, one more episode of Netflix, right? Next thing you know, it's like, come on, just skip meditation. And so I stumbled upon this concept called environmental conditioning. And it's basically why my transformation dies the moment I walk back into my regular life. But I want to break this down for you. I realized that our environment isn't just physical space, okay? It's our relation. It constitutes of our relationships, our routines, right? Just going to the gym, if you have a regular car wash, shopping, our triggers, even the way we organize our day, right? If you're a planner, all of that. All of these things are constantly sending signals to our brain about who we are and how we should behave. And so here I am, back from another retreat, and I'm determined to maintain my elevated state. I've got my meditation corner set up, I've got my journal. I even bought one of those, those singing bowls because they sound awesome. Day one, I'm back at home. And I'm still feeling pumped. I'm still feeling pumped from the retreat. A bit of a jet lag, but wake up at 4 a.m., meditate for an hour, journal for about 30 minutes, and I'm feeling like a monk who's just drank a can of Red Bull. Day two, same thing. I'm thinking, this time is different. This time is going to be different. I will maintain this retreat energy. I've cracked the code. Day three, my phone buzzes during meditation. And it was a work emergency, right? It's usually on Do Not Disturb, but it is not on Do Not Disturb for specific people. And I think, okay, you know what? If they're calling me, it must be important. And so, boom, just like that, the spell is broken. My brain goes from elevated consciousness to, oh shit, I forgot about that deadline in about 0.5 seconds. And the thing is that when we are in that elevated state, we are literally operating from our prefrontal cortex, the CEO of our brain. However, the moment stress hits us, we drop into the limbic system, the emotional reaction part of our brain. And it's similar to switching from driving a car to riding a donkey. You know what I mean? So it's a big shift. When you are stressed or triggered, well, like I said in all my videos, our body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And so these chemicals literally shut down our prefrontal cortex, and then they activate our survival brain. And it's not a time to create. It's not a time to create because now it's either run, fight, or hide. And so all of those beautiful new neural pathways that we just created at the retreat, sorry to say, but they are temporarily offline. And so get out of survival. Get out of survival. Immediately go back into the basics, brain and heart coherence. And when that happens, it's like your brain has two modes, right? Enlightened spiritual warrior and then the caveman who is running away from a saber-toothed tiger. Now, guess which one our environment is constantly triggering? The caveman part. Now, okay, I want to tell you what helped me, right? And you don't need to go to a retreat to start applying this in your life. And this is the game changer. I used to think, just a long time ago, I used to think meditation is just about the hour of meditation that I do. But what if I told you that the real magic happens in these little micro moments throughout a day? The micro moments. I want to show you what I mean. So during the day, I started experimenting with what I call stealth meditation, okay? Instead of trying to, which I did before, trying to maintain this perfect spiritual routine, I started anchoring my elevated state into my regular activities, okay? Everything that I did, even just sitting on my office chair, at the gym, before I check my phone, what I would do is I would take 3 conscious breaths, okay? Just breathe in and out and try to relax myself. Before I eat, guess what I do? Breathe and relax and feel gratitude for about 10 seconds before I eat my meal. Because when I am breathing and relaxing, it's signifying rest, digest, and rejuvenate. Before I respond to a stressful email, guess what I'm doing? Breathe, relax, and then I ask myself, how would my elevated self handle this? Okay? It sounds simple, but and it's like having an angel on your shoulder, one of those angels and devils in the cartoons, but it's an angel, just an angel reminding me to pause before I do something. Okay? Am I in survival when I'm about to do something, or am I going to get into coherence and do it? Now the cool thing is nobody knows that I'm doing it. Nobody's going to know that you're doing it. You can be in the middle of a meeting, taking a conscious breath, and boom, back into your elevated state. You have now become a spiritual ninja. Okay? Your boss could be yelling at you and you can be like, I'm just going to breathe through this, mate. I'm going to breathe through this. But after 2 retreats and countless failed attempts at maintaining that elevated state, I finally figured out the missing piece for me. So the problem is that you're not spiritual enough or disciplined enough. The problem is that I was trying to maintain a peak state in a valley moment, okay? That is similar to trying to stay dry while swimming in the ocean. And so it's toxic positivity. If my boss is, for example, if my boss is yelling at me and I'm trying to be in a peak state, come on. So just breathing and relaxing is more than enough for that. And so I developed 3 pillars that helps you, well, I want to share this to make your transformation inevitable instead of just inspirational. And I want to share this with you because I wish someone had actually told me this after my first retreat instead of trying to figure it out through years of trial and error as well. So write this down, please. Pillar number 1 is called environmental design. Pillar number 1, environmental design. Your environment needs to constantly remind you of who you are becoming, not who you've been. So this isn't just about having having crystals and a meditation cushion, but yeah, those are nice as well. This is about strategic environmental cues. Okay, like for me, I always have my most recent retreat journal next to me. I changed my wallpaper to a picture from retreats or my symbol that I'm trying to create as well. So every time I pick up my phone, which is, come on, I'm going to be square up with you, 847 times a day. Just kidding. It's a lot though. I get a visual reminder every time I look at my phone of my elevated state or my symbol that I'm trying to create. I also put sticky notes with my intentions on my bathroom mirror, my coffee maker, before I open the door, when I open the, what do you call that? That sun blocker in my car. But why did I do that? Because our brain are constantly scanning our environment for cues about how to behave. And so if your environment is full of reminders of your old self, your brain will keep defaulting to old patterns. Sorry. But if you strategically place cues that remind you of your new self, your elevated self, where you are headed, you're literally programming your subconscious mind in the moment. Nice. Pillar number 2 is called micro practices, okay? Micro practices, pillar number 2. This is where I got it wrong for the longest time. I thought I needed to meditate 2 hours a day to maintain my transformation. Now listen carefully. What if I told you that 30 seconds of conscious breathing is more powerful than 30 minutes of distracted meditation? Ooh, yes, I went there. I'm going to be real with you, okay? It's not about the length of your practice, and I thought it was about, I'm going to do a 4-hour meditation, right? But it's about the quality of your presence. One moment of true elevated emotions is worth more than hours of meditating in survival mode or being distracted by your mind in meditation. And so I created specific moments throughout my day where I would anchor back into my elevated state. As soon as I open my eyes, I tell myself that my brain is lying to me, all right? And so I spent 30 seconds just feeling grateful to be alive. I woke up another day. Before I start my car, I set an intention for my drive to just be safe. Before I walk into any building, I take 3 conscious breaths. And how do I want to be in this, I guess, new building, like a new scene, whatever it is, a new moment. That's it. And so these micro practices are invisible to everyone else. But for me, I'm constantly rewiring my brain by participating in those micro practices. It's like a superpower that nobody knows about. So give that one a try. And then pillar number 3 is community, accountability. Such an important piece. It's so hard to maintain an elevated state in isolation, especially when you don't know what your blind spots are, or if you are going crazy during meditation thinking that you're the only one having these experiences. But you need friends who actually do the work and are on a spiritual path. People who remind you of who you're becoming, not who you've been. They're very important, very important. For the longest time, I thought I was strong enough to maintain my transformation through just willpower alone. You know what I mean? I had Dr. Joe on YouTube, some of the courses, that was more than enough for me. Oh my God, big mistake. Because I would constantly be seduced by my old patterns. Because everyone and everything around me was trying to pull me back into my familiar frequency, back into my old self. You see, when we are constantly entertaining or entraining with the energy of we are constantly entraining with energy of the people around us. Okay? If we are surrounded by people who are operating from stress, fear, limitation, who love to complain, blame, then sorry to say, it's like trying to stay sober at a party. And so technically it's possible, but why make it harder than it needs to be? And so I started being very intentional about who I spent time with. There was actually a big period of my life where I was just me. It was just me. Like I literally cut off all my friends. I don't recommend doing that, or you don't have to do that, but that was just me. But I joined online Facebook groups of people who were doing this work as well. I joined local meditation groups. I even started having elevated conversations with my friends and family. This one was slow, but I was trying to push the boundaries with every interaction. And here's the thing though. Some people in your life won't understand your transformation. That's just the reality. They might even resist it because your growth, it makes them feel uncomfortable about being mediocre, right? Stagnant. And that's okay. You gotta love them from your elevated state. But don't let them pull you back down into their frequency, especially if it's like family, close friends, cousins, and stuff like that, right? So use your discernment. Now listen carefully. The retreat is the easy part. Because when you are surrounded by 1,500, 2,000 people all meditating, doing the work, when you are removed from your regular environment, right? When you have nothing to do but focus on your transformation and yourself, of course you're going to have breakthrough moments. You're going to have mystical experiences. It's amazing. The real test is when you're back home, dealing with your regular life, dealing with your regular stresses, your regular triggers. That is when the work counts the most. That is where you find out if your transformation is real or it was just a cool vacation in Cancun or in Marco Island. If you are just a spectator or if you are actually serious about this, that is when you will know, when you are faced in your real, back to your environment. And I remember this one time I had this moment of clarity. I was sitting in my car in my driveway and I was about to walk into my house, and I thought, this is it. This is the moment of truth. When work got overwhelming, instead of going into survival mode, I would pause, connect with my heart. Because this is where the real neuroplasticity happens. Yes, it happens in the high moments, in the elevated states, but in the challenges, the obstacles, where we can choose to react as the old self or choose to respond as the new self. That is some deep transformation, just deep neuroplasticity happening. Every time you choose your elevated response over your automatic reaction, you are literally rewiring your brain in that moment, real time. Because you are proving to yourself that you are no longer the person you used to be. No, I will not react as my old self. That guy doesn't even exist anymore. Okay? That type of energy. The beautiful part is the more you master your regular life from an elevated state, the less you need the retreat to feel transformed. For me, the retreat is just a tune-up now, a boost. And it's not a rescue mission. That was what I saw it, the first two retreats. And so, right now for me, I treat the retreats like an Olympic game. Okay, like the Olympic Games. I do my training when I'm not at the retreat, aka my real life. Then when I'm at the retreat, oh my God, I am all in. I'm contributing to the field. I am generous. I am giving energy to other people. It's game on because I did all of my training outside of the retreat. just like an Olympic athlete would do, right? They don't train at the Olympics, they train before the Olympics, and the Olympics is just going all in. And that is the difference between someone who only exercises when they go to a fancy gym or on vacation versus someone who's just built fitness into their daily life. The person who has integrated fitness into their routine, doesn't matter. Even if they don't have dumbbells or weights, they can just do push-ups, body weights, they can go for a run, right? They still find a way to stay in shape no matter what. That is identity work right there. Now I want you to listen carefully because this took me years to figure out. Your regular life isn't the obstacle to your transformation. It is the experiment for transformation. Every challenge, every trigger, every obstacle, every stressful moment is an opportunity to practice being your elevated self, or just simply not choosing to react as your old self. And so please understand, if you've been to a retreat and felt like you lost your transformation when you got home, you didn't fail. You did not fail. I want to reassure you, you did not fail. You just maybe didn't have the right integration system to maintain it. The retreat shows you who you can become. But the real transformation happens in the space between who you were and who you are becoming. And that happens in your regular life. With regular challenges, making elevated choices moment by moment. And so, understand that environmental design, micro practices, the 3 pillars, and community. These 3 pillars will make your transformation inevitable. Not just inspirational, but inevitable. Because you don't need perfect conditions to be your elevated self. You just need the right system. And so, I've given it all to you. There's no excuse now. Because the thing is, when you master maintaining your elevated state in your regular environment, when you stop reacting as the old self, when you can pause in the heat of the moment, you become more powerful than you ever were, even at the retreat. Because now, you're not dependent on external conditions for your internal state, but you've become the retreat, or you become the energy of the retreat.